Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. I guess this is breaking news from last night. This was edited in pretty much last night at 11:20 p.m., okay, before we start with the actual video, because Marcus Epps has signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. This was news coming out from Tom Pelissero last night. Since later in this video, you'll find out that Tristan McCollum was waived for one of the moves the Eagles made through the waiver wire. I wonder why they just wouldn't keep Tristan McCollum in the building since he's played under Vic Fangio last year in 24, where Epps was a part of the old system when Vic Fangio was not even in the building. So that's your breaking news. Now on to the video that was supposed to be showed to you guys. Peace out. Yes, a lot to talk about. The practice squad. The Eagles actually put in a waiver for a cornerback that they just couldn't get, and that really tells you about this cornerback spot at CB2 in general. We're talking about two players waived from the Eagles, and obviously two players that the Eagles claimed on waivers, which were really, really interesting. A lot of news out of practice, a lot of good stuff going on here. So let's get straight into it all.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
What is going on, guys? I hope we're having a fantastic day today. So there's a lot of great things to talk about here. Now, starting with Eagles practice, a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. We'll start with the bad news first, is Andrew Mukuba is still out with a hamstring injury. Now, it's a little concerning, especially since you just waived one of your depth safeties, which we'll get into later in this video. If Andrew Mukuba doesn't practice at least the end of this week, I would have to say that he's probably not going to play in this game next week against the Dallas Cowboys. And that's unfortunate because, you know, this guy's already been hurt twice, and you're really hoping that we could just get him on the field, and that's all I want to do. So maybe we'll be a little bit lucky. Maybe we'll have some time the next couple days. We'll wait, see if he could be activated for this game next week. Otherwise, we're probably going to see a ton of Smitty Brown. But I really wouldn't worry about that either. So let's just be patient on that. But the good news coming out of Eagles practice is that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are practicing. Yes, not surprised. We knew that they were going to be playing the first game, but it's nice that we got that announcement that it's set in stone that Smitty is back and A.J. is back and they will be ready. And other good news, probably the best good news coming out of practice, is that Landon Dickerson was back at practice. Now, I don't know if it was full capacity. He was doing positional drills. He was doing a lot of stuff, okay, which is good. It wasn't he was just walking around. No, he was practicing, legit practicing, and to get him back is huge from this minor, mild meniscus tear that all of us were pretty afraid of having Brett Toth really start in that left guard position for that first game, or at least for a couple of weeks. We didn't know if he was going to miss any time. We got really lucky with the timing, because if this happened like right before the season started, a day before a game, or just from a practice in general, very close to game day, probably would have been missing a couple weeks. And thank God we had some extra time to get him back, and he is back, so that's very good news. Now, we got the first press conference from Sam Howell, our third-string quarterback, and really talked about how he respected the Eagles organization for what they represent and what they've done so far, and obviously talked about, you know, if I need to be in that backup role, if McKee can't go, I will gladly step up as the backup quarterback for week one. He discussed how much of a fast learner he is over the years. He's been thrown to different schemes, and he's adapted really well. Even though he gave up a couple picks for Sam Howell, which really didn't affect the Eagles because they pretty much got those picks back. You have a guy that's your third string quarterback right now that is better than what you've ever had, with experience on the field, has been a starter, has been a backup, has been to multiple teams over the last while. And I think it's step up in a game if you really need him, with really good weapons around him. So it looks like Freddie J had his press conference. Fred Johnson just being back with the Philadelphia Eagles. He looked like he had a ton of excitement. He looked like he just got back with his family after just a long trip elsewhere. And I don't know what happened with the Jaguars, but, you know, that trade kind of went down quick. It's not that he was surprised over it, but he was like, you know, if I want to go anywhere else in this league, the Eagles is where I want to be. This guy just won a Super Bowl ring for us. He just took over for Jordan Mailata for a couple games, and I think he's been a pretty good project for Jeff Stoutland, and always talked very high on him, and don't think he's the best player, don't think he's a bad player, but I think he's a solid, serviceable left tackle if you really need him, because the Eagles were really looking for a swing tackle, really, since Kendall Lamb really wasn't working out. Matt Pryor wasn't working out, so I'm glad the Eagles traded back for him. Now we're going to be going into the waiver wire. Okay, so the Eagles wasted no time. And in the process of this, because this all didn't happen at the same time, this was a step-for-step process, and we're just going to go over everything all in one take here. Okay, the Eagles waived 2 players to make 2 waiver claims. 1, Trevor Keegan, waived. And unfortunately, it's just what it is as of right now with Trevor Keegan. The guy can't stay healthy. And Trevor Keegan was realistically just like the number 3 center, and he did play right guard in that last preseason game in garbage time. Didn't give up a pressure or a sack, but there really wasn't much to take out of it. I mean, 2 offseason programs, you're not even available, and then you come in late to really try to show what you're worth, and you can't do that. You know, you're off this team. It's unfortunate. Now, safety Tristan McComm was waived by the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Even though Smitty Brown may have had a better camp than Tristan McComm, from what it sounds like, with Makuba's injury still lingering and now signing Marcus Epps from last night, it's still a little concerning. For the first move for the Philadelphia Eagles off the waiver wire, the Eagles got the highest graded rookie offensive lineman in preseason. And we're talking about center Willie Lampkin. Now, this guy is 5'11", 279 pounds, undrafted from North Carolina and Coastal Carolina, okay? Now, game 2 of the preseason, he had a knee and an ankle injury. So this is something that they're not going to work on this year. This is a guy potentially that, you know, we're going to see not only can he play center, but can he play multiple positions. Now, he is a little bit undersized, but that's the name of Philadelphia when it comes to the center position, because Kelsey was like that. Jurgens is almost a replica of Jason Kelsey when it comes to metrics, measurements, you name it. Every time they get a guy like this that's in the middle like that, maybe undersized at center, they get a guy that has toughness. They have a guy that gets grit. They have a guy with physicality that will mow somebody down and put them right in the ground. And there was a video from the first preseason game where Lampkin took a Cowboys linebacker and just pummeled him into the ground. It was the best thing. It was awesome. Jeff Stalin saw that and said, yeah, there is some flash there. There is something with this kid. I'm good with Cam Jurgens. I like Drew Kendall a lot. I think he's been a very good backup center for us as of right now. This is going to be a guy that's going to be injured for a little while. Will come off injury, and, you know, Jeff Stalin will start to mold him in his little clay room. And that's where we're going to find out probably by next year what this guy could be. Maybe he could be a backup center. Maybe he could be more of a guard. We'll see what happens. But this guy shows a lot of promise. God knows what Lampkin would have looked like if he played after that first preseason game. Really couldn't make it to that second game because he got injured, and you know, maybe he would have looked a lot better. But Jeff Stalin obviously saw something, and the Rams were kind of like, you know what? He's not showing us much, and we're just going to put him on the waiver wire. And the Eagles picked him up. The Eagles claim another player off the waiver wire, and I think this is going to be the replacement for A.J. Dillon next year in 2026, because we're talking about AUDRIC ESTIME. AUDRIC ESTIME was drafted by the Broncos last year in the 5th round, only 21 years old. Unfortunately, he was hurt back in week 1. And didn't get back until October. And he only played 13 games, had 76 rushes for 310 yards. It was averaging 4.1 per carry. Okay, 2 touchdowns and 2 fumbles. Guy can catch out of the backfield. Guy is a physical bruiser back. You can almost use him as a dual threat if you really want him to, how they're kind of using a lot of these running backs in Philadelphia between Saquon, between Will Shipley, and A.J. Dillon for being a bigger, more elusive back. And I think that's what they're going to try to replace, or hopefully they're thinking that AUDRIC ESTIME could win this job in the 26th offseason of training camp. AUDRIC ESTIME was really given a big opportunity in a rotation last year, but just couldn't stay healthy. You miss a lot of time, you know, it's going to be hard to really get that rotational job again. So now he'll have another chance to be in this running back room with the Philadelphia Eagles and work on his craft all year, and really be a big project this year until next offseason in 26, where you're going to lose A.J. Dillon, Will Shipley still on contract, Saquon still on contract, and your bruiser elusive back is coming in the building next year at 22 years old. I think this was a very good move. Just think about it. Darius Cooper is going to replace Jahan Dotson when he leaves next year. And AUDRIC ESTIME potentially could take over as that number 3 back when A.J. Dillon leaves after this year. Come on, Howie. I know how that brain works. I know how you're thinking, but it makes a ton of sense Two really good moves. And lastly, because I'm still so nervous about cornerback 2 as of right now and what they are prepared to do for this first game and moving forward the rest of the regular season. The Eagles put in a waiver claim on cornerback Jalen Armour Davis. Now, I don't know much about this kid, but the Eagles obviously wanted him that badly. They were beaten by the Tennessee Titans. I know the Dolphins put in a claim. The Saints put in a claim. The Eagles did. They all lost. The Eagles are very late in the waiver claim, so it's really hard to pick up even great players that could come in right now. And they were ready to add another cornerback to this group. What does that tell you? Do they still not like Ja'Cory Bennett? Are they really not going to throw him in that first game? I think that's going to be the biggest mistake they made, is not throwing Ja'Cory Bennett in that first game. Let him learn, let him roll, let him do his thing, let him go through his growing pains. Like, I don't see what the issue is here. Because with Adoree Jackson sitting at that spot, especially not even being a future piece for this team, we're going to be disappointed every single week. I hope I'm wrong, but my eyes see what my eyes see. And it's not Ringo. It's not Adoree Jackson. The only way you're going to find out is doing just that. And that's what they have to do. And if they don't, then Ja'Cory Bennett will never learn, and he'll be wasting his time sitting on the bench. That's the only way you're going to find out. Now, the practice squad list as follows. Now, you have linebacker Chance Campbell, wide receiver Elijah Cooks, guard Kenyon Green, tight end E.J. Jenkins, cornerback Brandon Johnson, outside linebacker Patrick Johnson. Surprised they brought him back, but, you know, the preseason warrior of every single year. Tight end Cameron Latu, wide receiver Terrace Marshall, QB Kyle McCord is brought back. Cornerback Parry Nickerson is another one that I actually really like this offseason. Tackle Holland Pierce. Outside linebacker Antoine Powell Ryland, that hasn't done much of anything, but maybe they've seen some flash from him. I'm glad he's still with the Eagles, still going to somewhat produce and learn this year, which is great. They brought Eli Ricks back at cornerback, and they brought in Andre Sam back, which I still think he's another nice depth piece if they want to move him up for a game just as a safety measure. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much about it. How do you feel about Lampkin? How do you feel about ESTIME? How do you feel about Landon Dickerson coming back to practice? Even Makuba, you know, is he going to start next week? You know, is he going to practice sometime late this week? It would be really nice. And what do you take from the Eagles putting in a waiver claim on a cornerback? This is getting kind of ridiculous now. Like, who's starting week 1? You guys enjoy your day. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Eagles news every single day. And make sure you hit the like button because it helps out tremendously. Remember, Shake Squad up, follow slide. Peace out, guys.